Hello, good evening, and welcome to Become a Better Man. My name is Tunde Disu. Thank you for taking the time to be part of today's program. On today's program, we are going to be looking at personal accountability. Personal accountability. Personal accountability is being willing to answer for the outcomes and the result from your choices, from your behaviors, and from your actions. It's being willing, being ready, being prepared, having the knowledge and the understanding that the outcome from your actions, from your behaviors, from the choices you make, you are going to be responsible for them. You are going to answer for them. You are going to stand behind them. You are going to back them up, and you're going to defend them if need be. Personal accountability is far different from personal responsibilities, and we will look into that as we go on tonight. But personal accountability is you being willing, being ready, being prepared to answer, to put your hand up and say, the buck stops here. It's being willing to answer for the outcomes, for the results, for the repercussions, for the consequences of your choices, of your behaviors, of the actions, of what you say and what you've done. Is being prepared and being willing, being committed to be held responsible for them. And when we talk about personal accountability, I know some people will say, well, I just don't know. No. Personal accountability is actually not something, it's not something you are born with. It's something you learn. It's something you decide to take on board in your life. It's a discipline that you cultivate. It's a way of life that you take on board as you journey through life. It is something that you can actually learn, and we're going to see some of that tonight as we go along. So when we talk about personal accountability, we're talking about you standing behind your word, you standing behind your action, you being willing, being committed, and ready to put your hand up when the results and the consequences of your actions, of your behaviors, of your word, of your deeds, when they come back to you. That is not the time for you to say, well, actually, maybe it's Mr. This, or maybe it's because of that. It is you being ready, being committed, being willing, being submitted to be held accountable for your action, for your words, for your deeds. And when we look at life in general, there are many attributes, there are many characteristics, there are many principles that you can bring into the equation to determine or in the journey towards having a successful life. But let me tell you, a big heart, a very high IQ or intelligence, a brave heart like that of a lion, a courageous mind, are all valuable traits, valuable characteristics that will help you in your journey, in the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of a happy life. But the reality is, when compared to the role of personal accountability, your heart being big, your IQ being high, your courage being like that of a lion, they all pale to insignificance when you compare them to the value and the weight that personal accountability carries in your journey towards successful life. When you are personally accountable, it means you are taking ownership of the situation at hand. You are taking ownership of the situation that you are involved in. You are taking ownership of the action that you are taking. You are taking ownership of your words and your deeds. And it's not just taking ownership, but whatever you have committed to, you make sure that come rain, come high water, you will see them through and take responsibility for what happens in the process and at the end, good, bad, or in between. That is what personal accountability is. When we talk of personal accountability, you don't blame others when things go wrong. You don't point fingers when things don't work out. You don't look for the scapegoat just so that you can walk away free. No. Instead of that, you do your best to make sure everything works, to make sure things go right, to make sure things are what you said they will be at the end. So whether you're looking to make a small change, a big change, a massive change in your life and in your experience of life, or maybe you just want to fine-tune a little bit here and a little bit there and adjust this and adjust that, the best place to start, the best thing that will help you through whatever change you want to see in your life and in my life, is to start from the point of taking personal accountability. To take ownership of your actions, of your decisions, of your success, of your failure, of your word, of your thoughts, of everything that goes into the equation. I know every now and again we use the word accountability and responsibility interchangeably. But the reality is they mean two different things completely. They are not the same. They are two different things. Responsibility is something that you can share with others, but accountability is yours and yours only. For instance, being accountable means being responsible for something, but also ultimately being answerable for the actions that you take, for the decisions that you make, for the words that you utter in the process of delivering on your responsibilities. Accountability is something you hold a person to only after a task is done or not done. Responsibility is something you give to somebody, but accountability is something you demand of somebody, something you hold somebody answerable for after a task is done or is not done. So when we look at the difference between responsibility and accountability, even though they sound alike and sometimes we use them interchangeably, when you look at the core of it, they are two different things entirely. Responsibility, for instance, is task-oriented. You give somebody the responsibility to manage a task. For instance, you have a team. In that team, some people will do budgeting, some people will do purchasing, some people will do marketing, some people will do feedbacks. Those are responsibilities that you allocate to different groups. But in terms of accountability, it is what happens after all the situations have occurred. The marketers have marketed, the planners have planned, the executors have executed, the reviewers, they've done the reviews. Now when it's all done, now we want to look at the result and determine who is accountable for what. So accountability is what happens after a situation has occurred. That's how you respond and take ownership of the result, good, bad, or in between. Also, when we look at responsibility, it focuses on specific roles, specific assignment, specific job description, specific process of what must be done to achieve a particular goal. But accountability is being committed to the success of completing that goal that has been assigned. And more than that, being willing, being committed, being ready, being prepared to take responsibility for everything that happens as a result of the actions that were taken by you. So as you can see, yes, they look similar. Yes, they look alike, but they're two different things. In fact, responsibility is a forerunner to accountability. With accountability, you have the choice. You have to make a choice of fulfilling your aspiration, or you want to sit down and sing kumbaya and blame everybody and whinge and complain and look at me, I'm a victim. When we talk of personal accountability, we all have a choice to make. And that choice is between, am I going to own up to what is my responsibility and what my actions or inactions in some cases, the result of what I have done? Or am I going to sit down and just cry myself to sleep so that I can blame this person and I can blame that one and I can point fingers at somebody else? In life, true success don't come from outside. True success comes from within you. Until you have become successful on the inside, you will still be unsuccessful on the outside. But you see, in order for you to be successful on the inside, so that it can radiate and manifest on the outside, you have to start by taking personal responsibility. By growing yourself from the inside, by developing your characters, your character, your views, your thoughts, your pattern, your emotions, by grooming them and harnessing them and bringing them into a place where you can really take control of them. That's where success starts from, not from the things you do on the outside. Success comes to those who accept responsibility for their actions, who are personally accountable for their actions, because they know that their output, the result of the activities, the outcome of their engagement, the finality of their actions is only as good as what they put in. So rather than spending their time bothering and worrying and haggling about the outcome, no, they concentrate on the quality of what the input is. When you take ownership of your performance, it gives you power to succeed in life. When you take ownership of your input, when you take ownership of the quality and the quantity and the size and the time and the volume of what goes into the process, you can be rest assured that the outcome will be what you want, what you expect, what you need. But it starts from determining, making that conscious decision, taking the necessary action to ensure that what goes into the process is good, of high grade, of the highest quality, so that the outcome can reflect the input. Life is a journey. This life is a journey that we are all en route of. We started somewhere. We're going somewhere. But between where we started from and where we're going to end, there is a process, the in-between, the going through that we must encounter. And because of the uniqueness of life, during your going through, you will discover at some point, if you are truthful to yourself, you will discover that no one can press the pause for your life. No one can rewind the tape or the video of your life so that you can go back and refix some of the mistakes you've made along the journey. It's not possible. The best thing you can do is to be accountable for where you are, knowing that where you are today is the outcome of what input you put in yesterday. So with that knowledge, with that understanding, it puts the onus on you and I, therefore, to seize command of our moment. Now, seize the moment. So that as we move forward, we will bump into ourselves along the way, but it will be something that we know it's going to be there because of the quality and the quantity of the input that we've put in at the initial stage. So how do you determine? How do you prepare for your result? How do you go through now so that in the course of your going through, what do you do while you are going through? How do you manage the resources of going through? How do you handle the issues of going through? How do you ensure that your going through is not just being carried on by emotion, but at the end of the day, what you will get, the result will be exactly what you expected because of, number one, the quality of your input, and number two, because of the standard and the way you manage the going through. So quickly, let us look at how to handle, how to manage, how to structure, how to make sure that the going through is not just going through the motion, but putting enough ingredients in the pot, ensuring that the process is well packaged and the mixture is well balanced so that at the end we have a good result. So how do you do that? How do you do that? The first thing you must do is you must envision. You must have a clear vision of not just where you are going, but where you are going to go through and how you are going to go through it. You see, in life, you have two groups of people. You have the pessimists and you have the optimists. You have the one that is always seeing the cup half full and the one that is always seeing the cup half empty. The perpetual pessimist, for instance, will always see the worst in every situation. Oh yes, that can be done, but well, we can't do that. Nobody has done that before. Why do you think you're going to be able to do that? I'm sure that is not going to work. That is a pessimist. They live in a world of eternal gloom and doom. They always see how it is not going to work, how it cannot work, why it won't work. That's all they see. Even when success is within their grasp, when it's right in front of their faces, they can't see it. They can't enjoy it because they believe it's a mirage. You can only pretend that you see. It's really not there, even though it is right in front of their faces. Those are the pessimists. But equally terrible and bad are the perpetual optimist. In their world, everything is rosy and wonderful and beautiful and working and happening and no issues, no problem, no setback, they just live on that platform. They live in a world where everything is almost perfect. When they encounter setbacks, for instance, when they're confronted with any issue, when they have a difficult situation, they just tell themselves, that's fine, it's only a temporary thing, it will soon go, and then we can continue enjoying the ride down the river lane. But self-awareness, personal accountability, insight, those are crucial to accepting responsibilities for your actions. Being aware of who you are. Are you a pessimist or are you an optimist? Because, like we've said, the pessimists live in the world of nothing works, everything is going to die. But the optimists live in the world where everything is perpetually wonderful, rosy, and happening, and everybody is happy and all of that. But once you become aware of which side of these two worlds you belong to, it helps you to have a self-awareness of yourself, and then you can, if need be and when necessary, mitigate against the tendency to be either a perpetual pessimist or a perpetual optimist. Because the problem with either being a very negative or extremely positive person is that you become blinded. You have blind spots and you can't see them. That's why they call blind spots. There are areas of your life where you just can't see around the bend because of the nature of who you are. You have a distorted sense of reality, and that keeps you from seeing the whole picture, from examining the whole situation. Because before you approach the situation, you've already made up your mind. This is, well, everybody's dead. Nobody can survive. Or you come from the angle that says the plane can fall down from the sky. Everybody will still walk out of it without a scratch and all of that. But in order for you to have personal accountability, you need to look at things for how they really are. That is not denying your person, but until you see things the way they are, until you understand the way things are, you will not be able to tackle them. You will not be able to appropriate for them. You will not be able to mitigate against the danger that are inherent in them. But when you develop personal accountability, it gives you a perspective, it gives you the ability to look at things objectively, critically, sincerely, so that you can see exactly what they are and how they are. So personal accountability gives you the ability, gives you the power to find the balance so that you can gain perfect vision and get rid of your blind spots. So the first thing you must do is to envision, to have the ability to see things the way they are, the way they really are. The second thing you have to do is to take ownership. Take ownership. You cannot achieve any goal without a level of commitment and a level of investment. But how can you commit to your goal when you are continuously pointing a finger at somebody, giving an excuse why it won't work, and reasoning why this is this and this is that, until you take full accountability of what goes in here is from me, and therefore what comes out from it is me, and I am going to stand. I'm committed to stand behind it rather than point finger at somebody else. When you focus entirely on being the victim instead of what you could have done better or done differently to achieve the result that you want, nothing will ever get done, or you will never get the result that you expected, because it is always somebody else's fault. Why is this happening to me? Why can't that happen to others? Why is this person's fault? It's because I was raised in this place. It's because I didn't go to that school. It's because of this. It's because of that. When you spend your life making excuses, looking for reasons, rather than looking in the mirror and taking personal accountability for your actions, for your deed, for what you've said, you will never grow. You will not grow. How do you take ownership of the situation? You must not refuse. You must be willing, you must be open, you must be ready to hear the other side of the story. You are not the fountain of knowledge. It's not just about my way or highway. It's not me, myself, and I. There are other people, there are other factors, there are other circumstances that are involved in everything. So in order for you to get the best of results, you must consider all the options. You must look at it from the other side. You must examine it from the other people's point of view. You must learn to gain the insight and the wisdom from others so that you can move forward rather than claiming to be the fountain of knowledge. Because when you refuse to see things from others, when you refuse to own it, to take responsibility, to be accountable, and be willing to be held accountable, you become stuck in your self-pity situation. And you become more angry. You are always angry because you can see others overtaking you on the right, overtaking you on the left. People achieving, people getting results, people taking responsibilities, good, bad, or ugly. They accept that this is what I have done and looking for ways to correct it. But if all I do is to look for who is responsible, who to blame, why this one and this and all of that, you'll be stuck in the muckly, rather than focusing on what needs to be done, gain the necessary knowledge, gather the necessary energy to find the necessary solution that will take you to where you go. So, number one, have a clear vision. Number two, take ownership. Number three, every problem has a solution. Every problem, there is a solution for every problem. So find the solution to solve that problem. Finding solution is hard work. Because if it's easy, it won't be a problem. So you won't need a solution. So finding solution is hard work. But you know how to resolve it, how to make it easier? By being humble, by being submissive, by being willing to acknowledge that maybe I just don't have the knowledge, the experience, the exposure, the qualification, the strength, the wisdom to do it. So I will find somebody who can help me. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Asking for help. When you ask people to help you, when you ask people to show you a better way, when you ask people to enlighten you, it does not make you weak. It's not a demonstration of weakness. It's not an acceptance, rather, of weakness. It's a demonstration of strength, because it takes humility to be in a position where you ask for others to come to your aid. Personal accountability is accepting the fact that you don't have all the experience, you don't have all the knowledge, you don't have all the contacts, you don't have all the exposure to get this done. Therefore, you need to research. You need to educate yourself. You need to think differently. You need to make new contacts. You need to expose yourself to new materials. You need to open your mind to other people's input, to other side of the story, and accept the possibility that you just may not have what it takes to get it done. But the good news is there are always people around you who are willing, who are ready to help you, to assist you, to give you the advantage, to work with you and work for you and get you over that bridge. All it takes is humility. And until you are humble, until you humble yourself to ask the right questions so that you can get the correct answers, you won't be able to solve the problem. Somebody said, your biggest ignorance is hidden in the questions you have not asked. Because the moment you ask the right questions, the right answers will come, and ignorance in that field will disappear. But if you have to be the best thing, the most profitable, the most knowledgeable, the most smart, you're just a big fish in a small pond. You won't grow. But when you make yourself a small fish in a big pond, you create an environment, you create an avenue, you create a circumstance for yourself to grow, to enlarge, to increase, to expand. So, envision it. Number 2, take it. Number 3, solve it. Number 4, act on the whatever it is you have now, act on it. When you have all the facts, you've gathered all the materials, you've got all the skills that is required, all the resources are at your disposal. You have the right contact and the right connections around you. You have people that are willing, that are committed, that are almost begging you for you to let them help you. All of that put together puts you in a position of strength. Because now you have the power to change the narratives, to change the situation, to set a new course so that you can have the expected result at the end of it. Now, along the line, setbacks may happen, issues may come up, obstacles will come up, hurdles, because you can only see so far. But the good news is, number 1, you're not by yourself. You are in a multitude of help, of support, of wisdom. Bible said, in the multitude of wisdom, there is safety. You are now encompassed with people, resources, materials, finance, and everything that you need to get the job done. So whether there is a setback or there is a delay or there's an obstacle, it don't frighten you. It won't shake you, because you know it's a temporary thing. It's only a momentary issue. It will pass because you have more than enough, more than is needed behind you that will push you through. That is when you come to a point where you ask yourself, am I going to swim or am I going to sink? That is when your tenacity, your grit, your refuse, your stick-to-itiveness, that is when it comes to bear. Because it's not just you now. There's a multitude that are helping you. But personal accountability comes down to you making the decision. Are you going to stay stuck where you are and wait for someone to rescue you or someone to blame? Or are you going to accept that you played a part in whatever the situation is, but now you have people around you supporting you, you have materials, you have resources, you have the right environment for you to grow and develop and get over that issue? The choice is yours. And that choice is the power of personal accountability. Because ultimately, you and I are responsible for our choices and our consequences. You and I, we are responsible for the choices that we make. And those choices, they lead to something. And that something is a product of you and I. I've said this before on this platform several times. The only freedom that you and I have in life is the freedom of choice. That's the only freedom we have as human beings. Freedom to choose. Because once you exercise that freedom, that's it. You are now at the mercy of the outcome of that choice. For instance, if you choose that instead of going from London to Leeds, I'm going to drive, or I'm going to go on the train, or I'm going to fly, or I'm going to ride my bike, or I'll just walk. Whatever choice you make of those options, the result is waiting for you in Leeds. It will determine how quickly you get to Leeds, in what condition you get to Leeds, and other consequences like that. But you cannot now get to Leeds and then blame TFL and blame M1 and blame your neighbor and blame this. No, you made that choice, and the consequences are yours as well. When you demonstrate personal accountability by taking ownership of your behaviors, of your decisions, of your actions, of your words, of your deeds, you are deliberate. And therefore, you are more informed, and it helps you to be more thoughtful, because before you make those choices, before you open your mouth and say what you're about to say because of you feeling you want to give them a piece of your mind, knowing that once that word has been uttered, you can't take it back. That self-accountability, that self-restraint would caution you to say, be careful what you say now. Because once the word leaves your mouth, it's gone forever. And with each calculated step you choose, you remember the word there, the calculated steps. Calculated step. Because now you know, this step I'm about to take now, I am responsible for it. And this step I'm about to take now, there is a consequence waiting for me down the road. Is it the one, will it lead to an outcome that I am happy with? Or will it lead to an outcome that I am not happy with? And as you measure and you gauge and you choose and you determine and you prepare yourself and you take responsibility and hold yourself personally accountable for your choices, for your words, for your decisions, for your actions, you are getting closer and getting nearer to a life that is full of joy, of peace, of happiness, because it is not a life that happened, it's a life that you make. Personal accountability. We all do it every day. We are accountable for something, for someone, for somewhere. How do you become more accountable though? How do you become more accountable? Because it's one thing for me to be here and screaming to say, oh, you should do this, this is what, this is. The question is, I hear you, but how do I do that? I'm willing, I am committing myself. I am making a decision now to be accountable. Well, how do I become more accountable? Like I said at the beginning, personal accountability is not something you are born with. It's something you learn as a way of living. It's something that is a discipline that you cultivate and you put on yourself and you demand of yourself. So in order to expand that, to grow that, in order to make it more robust, these are some of the things you and I can do. Number one, know your role. Know your role. It's a challenge to have personal accountability on its own. But it is even more of an issue if you don't know what you are responsible for. If you don't know what are the roles that has been assigned to you. If you don't know what your job description is, for instance, in your workplace, you don't have a job description, then it means you can't be held accountable for anything, and you cannot make yourself accountable for anything because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where your lines are, you don't know what area, what is your lane. Imagine at the Olympics running 100 meters dash of 4 by 100 and there are no lanes. How do you know where you're supposed to stay? How do you know where you're not supposed to cross? If at the end of the race they then say, "Oh, you are disqualified because of this," you can turn around and say, "Are you for real? Where are the rules? Where are the guidelines? Where are the responsibilities? Where are the job descriptions that you are now holding me accountable for?" So in order for you to be more accountable, number one, know your role. Know what is required of you. Know what are your responsibilities. Because if responsibilities are unclear, confusion will set in and the team spirit will suffer. It's the same in your life. If you don't know your role, if you don't know what you are responsible for, you can't be held accountable for it. So, you want to be more accountable, start by understanding your responsibilities. If you don't know, ask, what am I expected to do here? What are my deliverables? What are the things that I will be judged against? Then you take ownership of them and start running with them. You want to be more accountable? Be honest. Be honest. Success in life only comes when you are completely honest. Number one, with yourself. Number two, with others. You, like I've said before, you are the most trusted person that you know. So if you, being the most trusted person that you know, are lying and deceiving yourself, what chance have we got? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with others. Set aside your pride and your ego and your title and your this and your... Set them aside. When you don't know, ask question. Be humble to say, "Excuse me, can you help me with this?" When you make a mistake, be humble to say, "Sorry, that was me." It's always been said that honesty is the best policy. But be mindful though, because some people have used their honesty, in inverted commas, to blame others, to make excuses, to give reasons, instead of focusing on the role and the situation and be honest to be accountable for their part in it. You want to be more accountable, learn honesty. You want to be more accountable, learn to say sorry. If something is gone wrong, if the outcome has not worked the way it is expected, if the result is not what is you are expecting or the team is expecting, hey, that's life, it happens. But learn to accept that it is your issue and you will deal with it, but apologize. Say sorry. Just focus on making amends. Focus on making amends. When you apologize, you are showing to the others, to all the other people that are affected by your the situation, that you recognize that this is your responsibility and you are holding yourself accountable for it. And you are committed, you are willing, you are ready, you are prepared to make the situation right. When you do that, the people involved will respect you, they will help you, they will support you, they will guide you, and they will move on from that mistake or that issue that hasn't worked well. And they can then go and focus on other areas and achieve other goals while the problem is being solved. Rather than for all of you now to down tools and spend the next 70 hours looking for who is to blame, whose fault is it, and all of that. So learn to apologize. Say sorry when you make mistake. Number 4, use your time wisely. Use your time wisely. One of the things that a lot of people have issues with, and to some degree, myself included, is not being able to say no when you need to say no. Not being able to politely say no. Just because you don't want to offend the other person, you don't want the other person to think something about you, you don't want them to feel disappointed in you, you don't want them to feel angry with you, you say yes, yes. And what would happen is you take on yourself more responsibilities than you can manage. So you're procrastinating, you're delaying, you're postponing, you're pushing this, and so that you're trying to keep everybody happy. You stretch yourself so thin that you are almost at breaking point. When you do that, exactly what you are trying to avoid is what will happen. Because everyone that you let down, you didn't deliver on, they will look at you and say, this guy is not reliable. He gave me his words and now he can't deliver on it. What am I supposed to do? So you are disappointing them, you're letting yourself down. It will affect the reputation they have about you. How do you deal with that? Identify what you can handle. Identify whether you have the necessary power, the necessary resources, the necessary information, and the necessary time to deliver on the responsibilities or the tasks or the assignments that you are taking on. Because once you understand that putting things off is not going to work for you, it's going to make you even worse than if you didn't take it in the first place, you will stop making promises that you cannot deliver. Number 4 or 5. Accountability can open up powerful learning opportunities for you. When something hasn't gone to plan, ask for feedback. Ask for feedback. And look for ways to do things differently in the future. Why did it not work? We had the plans. We checked the plans. We quality controlled the plans. We executed the plans. In the process of execution, we were checking every step, quality controlling every step, testing every parameter, checking this against that. But at the end of the day, it still did not produce the result. Why? Ask for feedbacks and be willing to make changes. Reflect on your actions and spend time at the end of each process going through simple questions that will help you get to the nitty-gritties of things. Questions like, what could I have done differently? Because it's one thing to have a plan, it's another thing to plan, to work the plan. But at the end of the process, you still need to go back and review, because there are things that you probably were doing or you did during the course of execution that looks like what's in the plan, but actually they are not what's in the plan. But you only find out about that when you do a review so that you don't repeat the same mistake next time. So you ask yourself, what could I have done differently? Or how can I build this knowledge that I've gained out from this feedback? How do I incorporate that into the next process that I'm going to embark upon? And as you do that, you build new skills, you develop new ways of doing it. You're now doing it quicker, you're doing it smarter, you're doing it cheaper along the way. As I close, personal accountability is a way of life that will propel and accelerate you to a successful life. So in summary, what we've said tonight, to become personally accountable, take ownership of what happened as a result of your choices and your actions. Take ownership of them. Don't blame others. Don't make excuses. Don't look for scapegoats. When things go wrong, do whatever you can do to amend it and apologize and move on. Understand what are your roles, what are your responsibilities, what is required of you, and then go and work on them, rather than being a jack of all trades and master of none. Learn honesty as a way of life with yourself and with others. Manage your time. Manage your time. Think carefully. Think carefully about situations where you didn't take full responsibilities for what you've done. We all can do that. Look back in the last week, last month, last year, and re-examine what are some of the things you could have done better, you should have done better, but you didn't do. Then learn those mistakes that you made and now use them to prepare yourself for a better result, so that the same mistake that you made, you are no longer susceptible to making them again, because they've now become teaching tools for you. They've become lessons learned for you. They've become a point of reference for you. Now you are looking out for them so that they don't happen again. But it takes courage to learn from your mistakes. It takes courage to admit that you were wrong. It takes courage to apologize, to submit, to ask. It takes courage and humility to ask for help. But if you can do that, now you are on a journey to a life of joy everlasting, because you are holding yourself. You have learned how to hold yourself personally accountable for your life, for the circumstances in your life, for the challenges in your life, for the successes in your life, and for the life ahead of you. Be accountable. Be accountable. It is one thing to make yourself accountable to others. But you see, irrespective of how much you make yourself accountable to others, if you are not accountable to yourself, whatever those others are feeding back to you as feedbacks, you won't receive them. You won't see them, you won't hear them, you won't recognize them, even if they are bang in front of your nose. Make yourself accountable first to yourself. And then, you and I, we're on our way to becoming better men and better women. Thank you for your time. Appreciate you spending this hour with me. And I'll see you again next week as we finalize this topic on personal accountability. God bless you. Bye-bye.